Hi, I'm Marlene Franco from Gardening the Organic Way. I love gardening, and I'm a plant physiologist who's turned urban gardener, but my passion is really about gardening, and I want to teach you everything I know about organic gardening. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to the channel. And this is the segment that I'm answering a lot of questions about how to get started, how to begin to restore the soil, and how to bring back those microbes now that you've learned all about them. A lot of people have asked me, how do I get started? You know, yes, we want to restore the soil and we want to make sure that we bring back all the microbes and consequently all the way down the line, eventually some worms, etc. There's a multiple of things you can do, from having a compost pile and then adding that compost onto your garden. But there's some things that you can do directly through the soil that are tremendous, especially in the fall. And they're very beneficial, so that you give it a real big kickstart during this time of the year. And by the time you're ready to go into spring, a lot of those microbes are already thriving. But the most important thing is that you want to turn around and try to feed the soil as much as possible some organic matter. And the fall is actually a very good time to do this. We're right at the beginning of where everything's beginning to decompose, or it's going to be frozen over very soon because the temperatures are dropping. So I decided to come and pull out my bed of tomatoes here that I had, and I'm going to be throwing in, and I only have a little bit, but you can get, I didn't have time for more, but you can gather over a period of a week or so some peelings from vegetables, etc. And instead of putting them in the actual compost bin, you can lay them across as a layer in here in the bed. The more you put in, the better. Sometimes you can approach restaurants and other localities, so you can easily pick up a bucket or two of vegetables. So this is what we're going to do. So we're going to go get some manure mixed with straw. I'm going to use the pile that's older, because these other piles are a little bit more fresh, the manure, and it's horse manure. And usually horse manure, you want to be a little cautious just because there's a lot of different medications that sometimes horses get. But if it sits for a couple of years, then you don't have to worry about it. So the one on the deep end. This is great exercise, keeps your bones healthy. But I got 2 big buckets here of manure mixed with straw. So to make a whole layer of whatever you can get in terms of manure. This particular, like I said, it's horse manure, but you could get cow manure, chicken manure, any other kind of partially composted material. And even though it seems like it's cold outside and we're in the 40s now and low 50s, the soil is going to stay warm for probably another month or so. During that time, there's a lot of decomposition that can take place, and a lot of the microbes will begin to breed, as well as other worms and things like that. So again, we were going to pretend that we had a full layer of vegetable scraps, if, you know, maybe that you saved for over 2-3 weeks. And then this, you're going to go ahead and spread it. You definitely want to cover all the vegetables that you put out to avoid getting any vermins in here. If you have any compost that's already finished, you would top it off with that. That's pretty much the best bet. Okay. The last step is if you can get a hold of some straw and you cover the bed. This is the straw that you would remove in the spring and dispose of it, but it will serve as a cushion, or a blanket I should say, for the bed. This will allow you to utilize this bed very early in the spring, and everything you put in here will be decomposed, and then you'll be ready to plant it. But the straw is very important because of that. Oops. Voles love straw sometimes to basically house themselves for the winter. Therefore, if you have any vole chasers, they sell all different kinds. Some of them are solar, some of them send out a vibration pretty much, or most of them do. I would recommend putting one in here, putting in new batteries, and let it be for the winter. This way, you won't have any problems with that. So now this bed has this blanket, a blanket of straw, which you would then remove in the spring, and you'll be ready to plant. You can remove it very early on. It'll probably be frozen. But then by removing it, putting in a row cover, and I'll show you that in a second, you put in the row cover and then you plant, you probably gained about 3 weeks at the minimum of how early you can plant your spring vegetables. So here's a bed where it was covered with some manure and straw mixed in. It's an older, partially decomposed, and it's been cleaned up, and now it's ready to overwinter. Some of this will decompose, and some people can turn around and cover it with some compost or some topsoil and plant, or you can choose to incorporate it if you use that method. You just rototill it right in and improves the soil. I prefer to just cover it with topsoil so it does the final decomposition in the spring, and then you plant. But it's ideal because this way the bed, it's almost like insulated, and the microbes are able to reproduce and keep going. One of the other things that you can do to improve your soil is to plant a cover crop. In this case, we have rye, winter rye. You can see that it's starting to come up. Got planted a couple of weeks ago, and it's doing beautiful. And by doing the winter rye, this will get incorporated in the spring, like rototilled in. It will be a green manure that gets incorporated into the soil in order to give it more nutrients. It's also really good if you have a windy situation. And in this corner, it's a little bit windy. So the rye will hold onto the soil. There's straw also, and all this gets incorporated, and it will be great feed for the microbes. So I strongly recommend that you use a winter cover crop. You could also plant clover. Clover produces a lot of nitrogen in their nodules at the root system, so that's another option. There are many other cover crops out there that you can look up and decide to plant. The power of organic gardening is amazing. A lot of these improvements to the soil using organic matter are ideally done in the fall. Organic matter plays an important role in the fertilization process because as it decomposes, it releases much of the needed micronutrients that are not easily found in a bag. You can't possibly add all the necessary micronutrients by utilizing a bag of fertilizer. You really need organic matter. There are several things that you can do in the fall. You can start a compost pile, and I have a YouTube video that explains how to make a compost and how to turn it, etc. There are several videos on that. The thing that I'm trying to emphasize is that if you treat the soil as something that is alive, an organism that needs regular amendment with organic matter in order to improve the vitality and the overall fertility of the soil, this will make your vegetables taste a lot better. They will grow healthy. They will be less susceptible to diseases. And in general, you'll have a bumper crop. So there are a few things to remember in order to improve the soil, and that is to constantly add organic matter, especially during the fall. The addition of this organic matter will keep things growing beautifully. We're adding some leaves to the bed that has been already cleaned up for the fall. And now we'll spread them nice and evenly. Nicely spread. Cover the bed for the winter. Cow manure being spread during the fall in order to be incorporated later on in the spring. And now let's talk about pH. pH is preferably done in the fall. pH is really the alkalinity or the sweetness or acidity of the soil. The pH should be between 6.5 to 7 for best nutrient absorption by the plants. And also, it is the proper range for microorganisms to thrive. Organic matter. Now, organic matter helps keep the pH in balance. As it breaks down, there's a whole mechanism that takes place, which some things cause it to become more acid, some of them cause it to become more alkaline. But all in all, as the organic matter decomposes, the pH stays balanced. But if the pH is too low or acidic, then what happens is that there isn't the ability for the plants to absorb the nutrients. So it should be limed. The best time to lime the soil is in the fall. And the reason is because it takes several months for the lime to incorporate into the soil. So therefore, by doing it in the fall, then when spring rolls around, the pH would have risen and you're ready to plant in the spring. For more information and many other lessons, visit our website, gardeningtheorganicway.com, and learn more about gardening the organic way. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and allow me to produce more videos that will help you grow a bumper crop year in and year out.